Just making sure I got everything else set up like I want it. That's looking good. I just realized that because we didn't pick books last meeting, we don't have a book after this meeting.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, should we pick something short then? Or like Lauren and I were talking about the possibility of picking up like a graphic novel, not Why the Last Man on Earth, since immediately before stream, Sharon, you were espousing the terrors and awfulness of it.
Bluff.
But have y'all read Lumberjanes?
Mm-mm.
I think a long time ago, like we're talking like 10 years ago, maybe.
Okay. If we end up going that direction, that's for sure what I'm putting on the table because it's so good.
I was thinking, and I was like, we should do something on the shorter end. And so this was but it's not that short.
Ooh.
It's like 230 pages. Look at how beautiful it is.
Ooh, I've already got it on my shelf.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's very pretty.
I've already got it, and I need to read it.
It's a nominated for Hugo, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read it though. It's supposed to be good.
I've heard very good things.
I mean, I'm intrigued.
It's it's a weird length because it's not a novella, which I think of as under 200 pages. It's like 230-ish. So it's a novel, but like a baby one.
A small novel.
It's a novella that didn't lose the water weight before weighing in.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's an option. But I'd be down for another graphic novel. Love a graphic novel.
Speaking of graphic novels, I just finished the second Ali Brosh book, the Solutions and Other Problems. And it was very good, but it was so sad.
I also just finished a graphic novel. I finished Gyo by Junji Ito as like one of my October reads. Junji Ito is like a horror, like a manga horror author. And I've never really read anything in the horror genre. And I'd never read anything by Junji Ito, but it was good.
I've only ever read a few things in like the horror genre. The only thing that I can really remember reading is like actually reading The Shining, which I did in like high school. But then I read Mexican Gothic earlier this year, and that was really good and very creepy, and there was mushrooms. It was wild. It was good.
There is.
This is. Look at how fancy that is.
Ooh. All right, I'm going to try and find something real quick because I'm struggling to remember the name of it, and unfortunately, I don't think my. It might be on those shelves, but I can't tell. There is a graphic novel series that is all about haints. Harrow County. That's the name of it. It is also a horror series, but it is a horror series in the vein of like Southern mythology, like Deep South U.S. And so it's a lot of like swamp witches and poltergeists.
Love a swamp witch.
There's one of the monsters that you encounter is a skin suit in a suitcase that is conscious somehow and able to communicate, which is horrifying. But it's if you jive well with that sort of like spooky atmosphere, I strongly recommend it. Sharon, do you remember the person that we were hanging out with at GalaxyCon 2020? Oh God, I had their name in my head. They run Adventurers League. They're like a big time writer for Adventurers League.
I remember the person, but not their name.
Yeah, the name is completely escaping me right now, which is a total disservice. But their partner is one of the authors, I believe. Either one of the authors or one of the artists for Harrow County. And I didn't realize that until after I met him.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, it's nice to meet you. Da, 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 da. And then I was like, I should go pick up another copy of Harrow County. And I was like, why does this name seem so familiar now? What's up with that? I made no connection.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
It's
Yeah.
silly.
It's a small world sometimes, you know?
It is a small world sometimes.
Mm.
All right. So let's get this rolling. Let's get this dog and pony show on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who wants to be dogs and who wants to be ponies. I'm torn because I was Year of the Horse for my Zodiac calendar, but I don't know. I feel like I'd be more of a dog as a person. You know, it's hard to say.
Year of the Dragon. Yeah.
Ooh,
Ooh, that's a
good
cool one. And
That's a
very
good one.
appropriate for our evening discussion.
Yay!
Hoo-ha.
So
I'm still obsessed with this cover. Just look at it.
So
Just
how cool
so
are
good.
dragons?
obviously the coolest.
Mm.
Like even the evil dragons are so cool.
Yeah. And I think we had 3 different kinds of dragons because there was the Eastern dragons, the Western dragons, and then the shapeshift dragon, if we count that.
Mhm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that this book is like perfect evidence that there is no such thing as too much of a good thing. My only quibble about the whole book is that towards the end, there were parts that felt like they got skipped over or rushed in a way that like the rest of the book like really like took time and was like, we're gonna do all the stuff. There was like a whole scene that felt very important to me to see that did not happen at all. And you just skip ahead and it's like, well, I guess that happened because here we all are, but what?
Oh.
I felt cheated a little bit.
Interesting.
Hmm.
I feel like I almost have the opposite take in that I thought it was a little slow to start before you really get in and the plot gets moving. And I thought with like, I mean, I loved it, but with a book that thick, I feel like you really gotta hit the ground running. And I think that first like 150 pages is like a little slow. But
I always have to
I
have to find something that I can like be interested in or attached to. And that happened pretty quick with me with Eid. Like I really liked Eid. So I was like, all right, I don't really care about this like Roos guy, whatever. I don't care. Let's get back. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like interested in most of what was going on for everybody. But yeah, I just sort of like clung to Eid for a little while and
yeah
was in the book before I knew it.
While I love Tane, and I think Niclays is probably the most complex character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Eid is like the most fun. I feel like you like identify, like something about her chapters I think are like the easiest to like latch onto, the most exciting maybe. I don't know, maybe her like outlook is most analogous, but I found myself drawn to her chapters the most.
Yeah. She seems more well balanced than not as like a character. Like they're all very good characters, but she seems like she's got a pretty like she's doing her job. She's got some romance. She's got a sense of humor and some friendships. She's doing it. She's doing it good across the board.
It felt like to me, and here's where I confess once again that I did not finish this month's book. Where I'm at the very least, it felt like Ede was the most lined up to be the protagonist of the book. Like, Tane's got some of those protagonist qualities, but Tane also has to deal with, like, which am I more loyal to? Like, am I more loyal to what will get me ahead, or am I more loyal to the cause that I'm serving? Where Ede at no point swerves from her mission statement. She's like, this is what I'm doing. And there might be some confusing romantic feelings that blossom along the way, but by God, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, where are you in the book? I'm curious.
So let's see. Ede just got back and discovered the betrayer, the cupbearer, and ousted them. And that's where I'm at. She's trying to explain things to Sabrin and getting a lot of, I don't believe I gave you clearance to come in here and talk heresy to me. And Ede's like, oh, so you want your new Virtues Council to just say whatever you want to hear? Is that really what you want? Because I didn't think that's what you wanted. Which I love.
I love them so much.
It's kind of ridiculous how enjoyable watching the two of them interact is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I think I said this last time, but I think they walked a really fine line with Sabrin of like empathetic and like, but also like she's just so obnoxious sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Ede, maybe it's because she's an outsider in this culture, and then like we're also outsiders, and so like we're like the reader and her are living like a similar experience, trying to learn like these rules and thinking they're ridiculous and being a little bit out of place. But no, she's the protagonist, like with the capital P.
Yeah. I want to know more about Tane's journey, because where I'm at is where Tane has like suffered the consequences of her betrayal and is just starting to like climb back out of the hole she dug for herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's on Feather Island.
She's on Feather Island. She's discovered the gem, the pearl, and is like now trying to like hatch a scheme. I don't know.
Well,
maybe it turns out great for her. I can't say. maybe it turns out terrible.
I thought she got a very good redemption arc. I thought kind of like everyone had pretty satisfying arcs.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts, Sharon?
Yeah, I was pretty satisfied with where everybody ended up. But I did feel cheated by how some of them got there. I wanted to see certain things and I did not. I don't know how much like spoilery we should get, because I don't want to ruin things.
No, I
want you to be just as furious as me, Josh. I want you to be mad.
You can turn off the volume on your computer for like 10 minutes. 5 minutes.
Yeah, Josh,
you don't want to be spoiled.
Phones off for a little while, and we'll just rant.
I don't mind being spoiled on this. Anytime I fail to finish the book by the time we're supposed to sit down and talk about it, I'm like, look, I'm gonna get spoiled on things. That's the price I pay for not reading fast enough. So I say just go for it. Just go for it.
All right. Well, I wrote down several talking points.
Ooh.
Wow.
Opinions. So half of these were from the first half of the book, so don't
Yeah.
be too
Okay.
alarmed.
Okay.
It's not that crazy. Okay, so one thing that I thought was very interesting and cool was like towards the end of the book, you know how we've been hopping around from perspective to perspective. You get a swap of perspectives from like an Eastern character is now in the West and a Western character is now in the East, and I really liked that.
That's so good.
Like swapped in the world and like seeing stuff that we already know about from like the perspective of someone from that place experiencing it this other way and being like, oh, they're gonna do the thing, they're gonna be there. Oh, okay, yay. I really liked that. But yeah, the part that I felt cheated out of was when Eid and Tane meet. You don't get to see it at all. And I'm like, but.
Does it just like fade to black and later it's like, and now we're friends?
It doesn't even get to the point where there's a fade to black. There's like, well, there's a lot of stuff we're gonna have to do in order to make this work, guys. And then like, hey, high fives all around, y'all. Now that we've got a plan and we're all like squared away, let's do this. And it's like, but I wanted to hear the messy part where you're trying to like talk to each other and come up with the plan, and I'm so sad. Like I didn't get any of that.
Interesting. Yeah, because you have like, as a reader, you have this like emotional attachment to both of them, but they don't have it to each other. They don't.
I wanted to see you develop.
They don't know who each other are, other than like, you know, they each have the gem.
I wanted that part where they're like, oh, you also have the shiny rock? I too have the shiny rock. Let's like trade these? Like, what are we doing here? So upset. Yeah, exactly. The final like there were just so many parts that I was just like, I feel so rushed. It's not yeah, and there was
definitely felt different, than the beginning.
There was an escape scene that happened that we didn't get to see, and a meeting scene between those two, and then the whole like recovery that didn't happen, and it's just like I did not get to see any of that. I'm upset. This is a completely
Yeah.
I could see that.
Feel like they were like, oh, well, the book's getting too long. Quick, gotta finish it.
Yeah, because there's so much time and care taken in the beginning, in like the first half, and then it really starts like that last like 100 pages, 200 pages. It's like breakneck pace.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it could have been a duology.
Yeah.
But
I always wonder in situations like that, how much of that is the author didn't want to write those things in the first place, and how much of it is the author started out with something, brought it to a publisher, and the publisher was like, great, we want it by May. And they're like, oh no, I spent 3 years getting here.
Yeah, or maybe it's like that was the most intimidating thing to write, and they're like, well, it stands on its own without even having to do that. You could probably just like sweep that part under the rug, and everything else is so good nobody will notice. Or if they do notice, they'll be so happy with it anyways that they'll just deal with it. Like poor Sharon Rapp over there. She'll just deal with it. She'll just love the book anyways and just feel really sad. It's fine. I'm wounded.
Yeah. Interesting.
another thing that I wrote down on my list is the attitudes of two of our primary male characters in like comparison to each other's, like Loth and his whole vibe versus Nicholas. Like Loth was like, okay, I'm not sure about this, but let's do it. I'm gonna do it the best I can. I'm gonna do my duty. I'm gonna stay true to me. And Nicholas is like the exact opposite and just is like, no, I don't know what I'm doing. I just blah the whole time.
But I don't wanna.
And I don't remember what part it was, but it reminded me of why I don't like Arthur Dent in Hitchhiker's Guide. Because he's just like, and like just would not try. And it just felt like a bunch of undeserved cool things would happen, and he'd be like, I hate this. And yeah, anyways, that was
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I want people to like be like, well, I guess I'm in an adventure book. I better like give it my best. It's like, come on, guys.
I really loved Nicholas's character, but I definitely like I see where you're coming from. I think he does serve as like a really interesting foil to Loth, who is the best, sweetest boy. He's like he's just gonna try his best.
He's a good.
And he's gonna be respectful. And when it was so satisfying when he and Tane met up, and I was like, the paths are crossing. Like finally the threads are coming together. It was that was like the best. I was like, yeah, finally we're getting there. I was like,
I wanted that, and then I wanted that but with Ede too.
Yeah. It was
That's fair.
The dragon, and he has to like confront his preconceived notions and like decide to take a chance.
I loved that. I loved the whole good. We've got to deal with dragons now, buddy. They're good guys. You gotta deal with it. But yeah, I really like Nicholas as a character, but like he also drives me nuts. Like I definitely like him more than I liked Arthur Dent as a character, but there were just some like, after it comes to a point where you're like, come on, you can't be a wet blanket in every single situation all the time.
I don't know. It seems like maybe he can.
He could, and he did.
It is kind of interesting to look at Nicholas and Loth as like two sides of the same coin, because both of them come from this sort of like noble background. They're both trained in some things, but they're not really adventuring types. And Nicholas's approach to that is to be like, oh, well, then I want to just stay in my hut and do my research and not have to interact with anybody, because the man who was going to run away with me is dead and I can't get beyond that. And it's like, all right, man, I understand you're sad and all, but like Loth on the flip side of that is like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're going to make a good try of it. Oh my God. The scene where Kit gets crushed by all the debris. Ugh. Tear my heart out.
Yeah.
If there's a character named Kit, they're gonna die. That's my theory. Any book that has a character named Kit, Kit is gonna be lovable. You're gonna love Kit, and then Kit's gonna die. That's how that works.
Yeah, he was too fun and witty, and
he had his little like love letter situation, and just like his love poems.
R.I.P.
Nope.
God. And then back in the court, they're like, oh, like so and so starts bemoaning the fact that she stopped getting anonymous love letters. And it's like,
Letters. Yeah.
because he got abducted from the country and now he's dead. Yeah.
Yep, I caught that too and was like,
Yeah.
ah!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, 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 really like how Samantha Shannon details out places. Like, you get just enough imagery to start filling in the picture on your own without getting so much imagery that you're like, okay, we've been describing this city street for the last 3 pages and I would like you to stop it.
Yeah.
Especially in an 800-page book. Like, she leaves enough room for me to make decisions myself about what is kind of immediately surrounding folks. Like, it's almost like the introduction to a place is like, all right, here's kind of what you can expect, generally speaking. And then she's like, and then they go to the fish market, and then they go over to this place, and then they're like taking part in a festival. And it's like, I can kind of put together what all of those things would look like based on what you gave me in the first place. This is amazing. I love this.
Yeah, I think she does, and especially for covering so many different places. Like, I really hate like the info dumpy descriptions of scenery, of places, of people even, and I you don't really get that vibe. Like, I'm thinking about when she's describing like I think Psyche specifically, and the Priory to a certain extent, but I think we get like more description of Psyche, and it's just enough. It doesn't rely like too heavily on like, hey guys, this is Japan, but like there's just enough where you can sort of envision things, but without feeling like, ugh, I just read, a 2-page description of a floor plan,
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, like, I need some details to work off of because I don't want to invent whole locations out of nothing. But I don't need all the details. Especially when your primary focus is the characters and their struggles.
Yeah, it's super character driven. What were your thoughts on some of like the tropey aspects? I think this is a little spoilery, but we've got a magic sword, we've got a dragon with the missing scale, we've got like a lot of like duality. I don't know, were you like, oh, this again, oh, there's the dragon with the one scale missing, we get it, or like there's a magic sword, we get it, or were you like excited to see those tropes?
I think that exactly is why I like really loved and kept being surprised by this book, because it'd be like, oh, of course, I love it so much. But like, I would read, like, I've read this sort of thing in other books and just been like, yeah, dragons. I know. Yes, we all know. Oh, a magic sword, big deal. Of course there's a magic sword. But this one, it's just like, put every trope, every possible historical like illusion, anything that you ever could possibly want in a fantasy book, put it all into a giant blender, and it's gonna make the most delicious smoothie of all time. And I was here for it the whole time. Even like looking at it and being like, yep, that's a big old trope. It's a big old trope. Right, one right after the other. Like, line them all up. We've got them all.
And she didn't like.
We've even got the serpent and the fruit from the Bible. Like, come on. Like, you got to eat the fruit of knowledge in order to understand the serpent. Like, come on. That happens.
Yeah. I definitely, like, I don't feel like she was, like, inverting the trope or, like, turning it on its head. It's just there, but it's well done and you enjoy it. I liked it. And which is kind of surprising because I tend to like an untraditional fantasy. I like when, if they have the tropes, they, like,
Smash them.
invert them. Yeah, like, they play with them, but she doesn't really do, it's just, like, very genuine and just well done, which, hey, I mean, if you can pull it off, then yeah.
I feel like she kind of skirted inverting them all together, because you've got some of those scenes where, like, oh, the sword, the, like, ancient holy sword that is a symbol of this whole religion, it turns out that a woods witch created that, and she's really not to be trusted by anyone for any reason, because she's basically in anything for her own gain, or so it seems. Like, having those sorts of situations where it's like, all, like, yeah, you've got King Arthur's sword, but, or where you've got, you know, the Eastern dragons who are above and beyond any comprehension of mortal minds, until you really get to know them, because they're actually pretty relatable folk. Like, those sorts of, like, little adjustments to the tropes, I think, kept them fairly fresh without deviating from them entirely, like you sometimes see.
Yeah. Maybe that's what, like, breathes.
Sorry, I didn't actually want to cut you off. I was just putting that down there for when you finished your thought.
No, I was, like, immediately, like, something came on a screen. I'm like one of those people that can't eat at, like, sports bars where there's, like, 10, like, TVs surrounding me.
What were you going to say about the trope before we get into what Cheshire Cat said?
I don't even know.
I was talking about
I don't know.
how
I think
she, like,
yeah. I think maybe it's that little tweak that, like, keeps them fresh and keeps us, like, engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think. But yes, I loved the Ichnumon and how they were basically large, crabby snowcats that could run like the wind.
I was imagining them more like a giant otter.
I have
like a ermine thing.
Yeah, I had a roommate with a ferret. You remember that in college?
Mm-hmm.
One of my roommates had
I don't remember the ferret's name, but I remember the ferret and the like keys or something. Like,
yeah. So I was just imagining, like, my old roommate's ferret, but, like, enormous, which is terrifying because ferrets are feisty, and, like, that thing would bite my heels, and I would be like, I don't know, the ferret's got an attitude today, even though it's, like, a pound. Yeah, I liked the little sprinkling of magic creatures. Not too much, just a little bit.
Just a hint of magic creatures to really liven things up a little bit.
Yeah, the bird felt a little. I liked the Ichnumon, the ferret creature, a little bit more, because it had personality, and while it was, like, kind of a convenient plot device, it felt a little more. I don't know, the giant bird swoops in and moves your characters around the game piece. I was like, okay, it's a fantasy trope again. But I was just like,
I did
a little Deus Ex Machina.
I did enjoy when Eid goes down into the tomb following Sursa, and it's like, oh, you want me to go this way? And the bird's like, yeah, I want you to go this way. And then it's like, look at the thing. Look at the thing. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she interacts and she gets the gem and it knocks her out. And then the Ichnumon later is like, yeah, I don't lead little sisters into places that are terrible like dumb birds do. Like,
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
loved the magical creatures throwing shade at each other. Just magnificent.
Because they would.
Sharon, what are some of the other notes that you had? Because I know you had quite a few.
I think those were the main ones.
Okay.
There was the thing about the fruit trees and like the dragons. Like you have to eat the fruit tree in order to understand the language of the dragons or whatever. Right now, I fell down a rabbit hole because I was trying to find like there's a term for you know carcinization where everything like evolves into a crab. You know that phenomenon. There's a version of that, like sort of for mammals, and like the for like little mammal carnivores, and it's like it turns into something weasel like.
Erminization.
I don't think I think I would have remembered erminization as a word because there's the word ermine in it. But it's something like that, and I was trying to find that because like mythologically speaking, like the Ichnumons were like the enemy of the dragon, and so I was like, must find evolutionary base for existence of giant mythical animal that fights dragons. Must find. But I can't find it, and I swear I've seen it on a million different like science meme sites recently, and it's gone. I can't find it at all.
What comes to mind is like the honey badgers and the cobras. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're thinking of?
It's that. Yeah. It's like this is a creature that is meant to do the thing and fight that kind of creature. But
that's kind of the vibe I got a little bit. Is like like the honey badger, and it gets that like classic nature documentary. It gets like bitten by the snake, and it like keels over for like 10 minutes and like hops back up, keeps going, like kills it.
Yeah, that's mongoose as well, isn't that?
Is it a mongoose? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I know
mongoose, honey badger, like ermines, like tiny little predatory carnivores.
Yeah,
like
that are like very scary despite being quite small. Like they're not bigger than like
little vicious little stinkers.
I know book club chat generally has been talking a lot about badgers and the like and ermine because everybody's been reading Redwall books again, which has been magnificent to pop in on the chat for because it's been so long since I read any of those books. But yeah, like thinking about like badgers and mongoose and the like as like really large creatures, like something horse-sized, is terrifying. Also, how did they get Ichnumon and like worm creatures? How did they get them to cross? Because isn't that in Iskalin when they get on the carriage and it's being drawn by the two like fire cat kind of creatures?
What were those? Were those?
I don't remember the name.
I remember that. That was a great description. Talking about a killer description with like the like canals of like lava and stuff. That was good.
Yeah.
And the draconic, like the plague, it's like the doors would be painted
that
with
I was here for.
Yeah, so good.
Ugh.
But like they were talking about how like the cockatrice comes from the large bird creatures and worm blood and the flame cat or whatever they are came from the Ichnumon and worm blood. And it's like, how'd you do that though? Because they hate each other. So you know
There
they're
were
not
some,
like
Was that what it
wolf
was?
ones. There was like a wolf one too, right?
Yeah, I was there one that was mixed with the Ichnumon? Like,
I don't recall.
yeah, that's the ones that were drawing the carriage, because the woman was talking about not the Don Mata, but the attendant that goes and retrieves Loth and Kit right at the beginning of their Iskolan adventure. She's like, yeah, we don't use horses around here because by horse, this trip would take over a week. But with these cats, we'll be there by nighttime. And it's like, what? What?
Yeah, that was.
yeah, I thought that those were the ones that were crossed with wolves, but I don't remember. There were a lot of really crazy, like,
Dragon
draconic
animals.
creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I was looking up a bunch of them because I was like, I feel like I've encountered that in a bestiary somewhere. I'd like to see what my memory is, actually recalling, or if I'm making something up. But
I think I might ask this in chat, but I'm curious what everyone's favorite book featuring a dragon is.
Oh,
Kind of off topic. I was thinking about draconic creatures, and I was thinking about other books that have this kind of like draconic creature type thing. And then I was thinking about this specific book. And then I was like, yeah, that was my favorite dragon book. I wonder what everyone else's is.
I found the name of the things that pulled the carriage. I got distracted.
I'm trying to think of what my favorite dragon book would be. Like, from the... Oh, here we go.
Dealing with Dragons, book 4.
When I was a Jacko what?
It's Jaculi. Jaculi.
Jaculi. Jaculi? Something.
And it's a like wyvern wolf hybrid.
Oh.
So it's a wolf.
It's a wolf.
Yeah.
That would indeed be scary.
Yeah. Big pass on that.
So around the time when I was like really deep in fantasy, Aragon came out, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever, because like you got that bond between dragon and ultimately rider. But I think maybe my favorite dragon book is the Myth series by Robert Asprin, because the way he portrays most dragons is they're like these massive ferocious creatures, and then there's the main character's pet dragon named Gleep, which the vendor who sells it is like, yeah, there's something wrong with that dragon, I don't know what it is, but it basically only breathes fire very occasionally and kind of like scuttles around like a ferret, and is just constantly getting into shenanigans and making loud surprised eep noises. It's great.
That kind of rings a bell.
I liked the little goofy dragons that what's her face? What's her name in Guards?
Oh yeah, Ram. What is it?
It's like Madam.
like,
Lady Ramsbottom.
Yeah.
Rams.
Yeah, something
It's
like
like
that.
Rams something.
her little dragon rookery situation. Like, I thought
Yeah.
that was quite delightful. I don't know if that's my favorite, but that's definitely one of the more memorable, likable, enjoyable like depictions of dragons. Is like, oh, they're kind of like accidentally overbred little dogs now at this point. They're just like, oh, this one's got bug eyes and it can't breathe right. It's got some struggles.
And I don't know if it was Vimes waxing poetic like Vimes sometimes does, but the phrase that like with a gas bladder like that, you can only imagine what a potential nightmare sneezing might be, where it's like you're envisioning them just like popping like a balloon, and it's like, oh no, the dragons though, no,
Yeah.
they're too cute for that. Stop it.
Mm.
I want to say that was Vimes being like, I don't get this.
Yeah. Mine is The Hero and the Crown by Robin McKinley.
Ooh.
And Robin McKinley was like my fave growing up. I loved it. But it's about this it's like princess who sort of princess whatever who kills like decides to go dragon hunting, and dragons are like small, like maybe the size of a dog, and are kind of a nuisance. And then there's, turns out there's like a large dragon that's like awakening, and only like, and she's the one that's been like sort of weirdo eccentric, that's been like going out with like the city guard and whatever and taking care of these like tiny dragons. And so she like gets obsessed with dragons and like goes and fights this dragon by herself. It's really good.
That's kind of amazing.
It's like a young adult. I think I read it when I was in like middle school, maybe high school, something like that.
Cheshire Cat's got an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Tamora Pierce's dragons, and that the in the Wild Mage series, you get like a little baby dragon that follows the main character around and can do like fun little magic things.
Oh my god.
And then they visit like in the land of the gods or whatever. They like visit the like big dragons. So fun.
I'm about it. About it. So I realized almost, was it before the call, or was it right at the start of the call or the stream, I guess, where we didn't pick a book to start on.
I think that was before we started streaming. Yeah.
So we don't have a book to get into immediately after this, which is a terrible place to be. If we put a book on order, we might not have it for like a few days. So we are currently in the process of debating what should we do about that as a streaming group. And I think probably the wise thing to do is to pick a book that's a little on the shorter side, or potentially a graphic novel. How do the two of you feel about, like, what is your leaning on that? I feel like those are two very different choices to make. I wouldn't want to put up like, all right, everybody pick either a short book or a graphic novel, and then we'll vote on it, because I feel like that's a little too varied. What do you all think?
I'm good with either of those things. If you guys recommend the things that you already recommended, I have to say that I err on the side of laziness, because I've already got one of them. So I'm like, yes, I can knock something off of my to-read list instead of adding yet another thing.
Yeah, I'm also okay with either. I love both novellas and graphic novels. So anyone in chat have an opinion? Graphic novel versus novella?
I think the one concern I've always had with running graphic novels on book club is that for those of us that read on a regular basis, you're going to be through it in like nothing. It's going to be like 2 days and you'll be done. And then you'll be like, when is book club? I want to talk about that book. Where if we pick a shorter novel, it's still got some meat you can chew on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're getting into the holidays, so if we did we're getting into the holidays, you guys. We've only got after this pick, we've only got 2 more books for the rest of the year. But doing like a graphic novel, maybe over one of the 2 big holiday months of like November or December, so that we can, it's like a nice little bite-sized nugget that we can actually manage to finish before the holidays eat us. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe like 2 novellas and a graphic novel or something, or.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally good with that. So let's throw some novellas as possibilities for us to read. I want to say that something I suggested a long time ago is a novella or maybe a short story, but specifically the Jules Verne book about the moon gun, where it's like one of the first times anyone writes about going to space. And I found that so fascinating. I want to say that's less than 200 pages. Like it's 160, I think. Sharon, you got anything you want to throw onto the table as a suggestion?
I'm looking at my pile back here.
You have the first Wayward Children book, maybe. I thought I lent it to you. I could be wrong though.
Which one? What is that?
It's I think it's called The Wayward Children, maybe. It's a hardcover.
I don't think I have that one.
Oh, okay.
I have.
Oh, it's called Every Hearty Doorway. Sorry, that's the first. That's
I've
the
got
name
that one.
of the first one.
I've
Yeah.
got that one. Yeah.
Ooh, I think isn't that one of the ones that got suggested?
That's the one by Shannon McGuire, and she's the one who wrote that encrypted series that I was talking about at our very first book club, the very first one, and that has a dragon in it that's pretty fun. That's got a fun dragon, a weird dragon, but a fun one.
Isn't this, when we were doing novellas, isn't Every Heart a Doorway one of the ones that got suggested and came very close to winning?
Yeah. I really enjoy that series. It's kind of like this first one is about a like home for wayward children, except it's a home for all of these kids who've gone through portals. Like it's a portal fantasy, so Alice through Wonderland, and when they come back, they're very changed and they don't feel like they fit in to society, and they have to kind of like, when they can't readjust, they get brought to this home for wayward children, and then murder. Done.
I didn't realize that this was a series because you lent it to me and I did actually already read it. But I had a really hard time parsing it out in my mind from 1,000 Doors of January, because Doors, and like I also read it around the same time. But now I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh right, yep, Sumi, right, Nancy, yep. I remember all these guys. Yep.
It's a series, but it's not a sequential series. It's the characters in that book. You know, they've all like gone on these like portal adventures, and so you meet them all in the first book, and then the subsequent books are kind of like prequels, but for each of the characters.
I love that conceptually.
I think there might be like one that's a sequel. I haven't read them all. I've only read maybe 3. But I guess if both of us have already read it.
Big subscribe to any like Shannon McGuire books though. Like the first one in the Encrypted series was Discount Armageddon, which is just what a great name.
So good. My recommendation would be Piranesi. I have not read it, but it's nominated for the Hugo this year, and it is kind of a weird, trippy mystery. Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless. Its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. There's one other person in this house, a man called the Other, and it's a very strange,
very Halloween.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm sure on Goodreads, we can, when we put it up to vote, we can get a better description. It's a little bit thicker than a novella, though. It clocks in at 240. So a little bit thicker, but
I mean, I think that's on the short enough side to be, a good contender for a month when we're getting books picked up a little bit late. I changed my mind. I'm not going to do the Jules Verne book. What I am going to propose is Terry Pratchett's Soul Music, which is a very different Discworld novel. It is about basically a band getting formed in the kind of Ankh-Morpork and surrounding area, and they play rock music. I believe it involves a large rock. So,
of course.
But it ends up having some very interesting effects on the populace, and ultimately ends up becoming a concern for death.
Sounds very Bill and Ted.
It's got some Bill and Ted vibes to it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm. That is what I'm going to throw onto the table. Sharon, since you didn't want to do Every Heart a Doorway, did you have something else you wanted to propose, or do you want to give it a little bit of thought?
I don't not want to do Every Heart a Doorway. I just got surprised and excited that I had actually already read it. It's good. It's very good. And as I was sitting here, I was thinking through some of the parts that I remember of it and being like, oh yeah, that's a good thing to talk about in book club. Like that one, that hit, ow. Mm-hmm. I don't have anything to throw into the mix. But I would get behind Every Heart a Doorway or Piranesi or the rock music.
I just
don't look at me. I can't be decisive. They're all great. Small.
I did just think of some, but we can talk about it. We can talk about it later, though. There's a couple from this author I've been recently obsessed with. I read one thing he wrote, and then now it's been like 2 months, and I think I've read everything he's written but one novella.
Ooh.
I just got it in the mail, though.
So you're looking to really clinch the collection and have read everything.
Yeah, he doesn't have that many. He's got like one novel and I think like 3 novellas. So it's not that much, but
All right. I'm down.
he writes like a alternate, like sort of steampunk, like alternate histories. And the one I just got is called Ring Shout. I'm reading the Goodreads summary now, and it's a dark fantasy historical novel that gives a supernatural twist to the KKK's reign of terror. And it's got like a source. D.W. Griffith is a sorcerer, and the birth of a nation is a spell that drew upon the darkest thoughts and wishes from the heart of America. It's like, I think it's probably in the same world as The Black God's Drums, which is another novella that I read about. It's like an alternate history where sort of steampunk with magic and stuff, where the Civil War didn't get resolved and the country's like shattered into, or the Confederacy, some like free states in the West and the North, and it's fun. It's good, but
I could see that being very good. I don't know if you want to throw that into the pile tonight or if you want to save it for next time.
Maybe save it for next time.
Okay. So here's my plan. I know this isn't usually how we do this, but what I'm thinking is I'm going to throw the doors open in the book club chat, say, hey, what's a shorter book that you think we should read? If I get 5, great. I'll start the poll almost immediately. If I don't get 5, then 24 hours after I make that announcement, I'm going to close the options and just run the poll so that we can get a book in our hands soon. Because I like to give those polls 48 hours because I feel like 24 always feels a little short to be like, hey, look at all these books. All of them are excellent. Now choose one. Yeah. I think that'll be good.
Great.
Oh my God.
Oh, what a cutie.
Happy cat.
Oh.
So good. He's so good. Yeah.
Sharon, is there anything that Happy would like to plug while she's on camera?
She would like to plug food in general. Naps, carpet, laying on the carpet, being pets. Those are her plugs. She's
perfect. Is there somewhere I could subscribe to all of those things? Those
I
sound
can get on board
great.
with the pro nap agenda.
Yeah, I don't know her secrets, which is why I have made her an object of constant study at this point. Like, how do I become
Fair.
you?
That's so cute.
The most peaceful creature on this planet. Teach me your ways.
Valid. What would you as a person like to plug?
Oh goodness. What do we got? I don't know.
I mean,
can't
we've
think
got
of anything.
we've got a few different books. We've got the Patreon. We've got.
I'm just gonna make
so
you
many
do all my work
shirts.
for me, Josh. You just gotta.
We got so many
cover it all.
shirts.
Oh, we do have. Shirts.
Oh my Lord, so many shirts.
I'm wearing one. Here, I'll plug the shirt I'm wearing. It's one of the older ones, but it's great for Halloween. Hurrah!
It's a good shirt. Yeah, all of the above. The Patreon is patreon.com/Goblins Growlers. I think I've got a banner for that. There it is. Haha. The website for finding our merch is goblinsandgrowlers.bigcartel.com. And honestly, if you just go to our website, goblinsandgrowlers.com, you can find so much of our stuff. If you're Richmond local, stop in at Alpha Comics and Games, conveniently located in Willow Lawn, Richmond, Virginia, because they have a lot of our stuff on display. And a few things you can't even buy on the website, because I don't think we ever listed our prints on the website.
And there's a whole bunch of t-shirts that are not up on the website either. And they're all at Alpha
Mhm.
though.
They're all at Alpha though. Let's see. I am going to plug Quid Pro Roll, our actual play fantasy D&D 5e podcast, where I am one of the players. Alex Smith, the owner of Alpha Comics and Games, is our DM, and she has a very epic story about bringing dragons back to the world that we then immediately fill with shenanigans, because we're shenanigans people. And I think it's a lot of fun. So if you enjoy podcasts, check it out.
It also
Lauren,
has
what you
dragons.
got? It does also have dragons, yes. What you got,
Funky.
Lauren?
What do I have? So if you want to follow me on Instagram, which is back up now, Crisis Averted. I am at Feminist Reading List. I do book reviews on whatever I happen to be reading, sci-fi, fantasy, romance, whatever strikes my fancy. What else? I might be writing a one-page dungeon coming up soon. So I've got a couple ideas kicking around in there. I think maybe catacombs might be spooky. So you can look forward to that in a month or so, 2 months. We'll see.
I'm about that.
Piles of skulls.
And if you manage to stumble across our book club on Twitch or on YouTube, come join us on our Discord, where we have conversation in between all of the book club meetings about the books we're reading. Spoiler tags, of course, a must for folks that have not finished the book yet. But we always open up a thread and we talk about the book in progress, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to engage with the community. So come check it out. I think that's everything I've got. Anybody got any final thoughts? Large emergency vehicles on the street? Anything?
City living for you.
City living, y'all. I don't think anyone's mad. It's a thing that happens. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I hope everyone enjoyed this book as much as we did. I'm going to finish it up in the time I have between voting and getting everything ready and getting the next book in my hands. So I'm excited to put
know in Discord when you finish, so that you can be like, I too am angry. I too feel cheated.
Here are scenes I wish we saw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You'll have a list. You will.
We'll just have to get together and write our own versions of those scenes.
Priory fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yay.
Fan fiction. You know how I feel about it.
Is that not the solution to this problem? I feel like that's the solution to this problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the only way.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.